She's doing good.
Okay, hi everybody. My name's Jocelyn. I'm the vice president on the board here at Hanaeleh, and we're going to attempt to do a virtual open house to tell you all the stories of our horses and give you a little tour of our property. So we have kind of poor reception out here, so it might freeze a little bit, but just be patient and bear with us. We're just going to go ahead and get all the way through it, and we'll post the video a little bit later. So thank you guys for joining us. Hanaeleh Horse Rescue, our purpose and our mission in life is to rescue and sanctuary abandoned, neglected, abused horses and make sure that they recover and live their best lives. And we also do a lot of work in animal advocacy to make sure that we're changing people's minds and affecting the laws that we have in this country that protect horses and protect other animals. So thank you for joining. We're going to go ahead and get started here with Kathy, another one of our board members. And the first horse we're talking to today is Venus.
Hi, my girl. Hi. So Venus came to us from a situation that was another quote-unquote rescue. They had gotten her from auction, and then they neglected her when they had her, and she got a splinter in her left eye, and it made her go blind. One of their volunteers found out and took Venus back to her house with her horse, and then that didn't really work out with them, so that's how Venus came here. And she's very kind of skittish she's a little jumpy. She's kind of skittish with humans. This is Megan right here, and Megan's the assistant trainer, at least sometimes, right? And so, yeah, that's Venus. Did I forget anything, you guys?
I'm going to show you guys her left eye, if she'll let me. This is her damaged eye where she got a big splinter in it, and this rescue just didn't treat it, didn't do anything, and she's now lost sight in that eye. But she gets around really well, being one-eyed, and she can exercise and do everything all of our normal horses can do. So we were able to at least make sure that the eye was stable, and she's a really sweet girl. She's making a lot of progress, and she's pretty happy.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Megan.
All right. Now let's go see Freya. Here's our girl Freya. So she came to us about this time last year. She was part of kind of a hoarding situation. The person that had her didn't feed her and didn't exercise or anything, and so a kind family kind of took her under their wing, but they didn't know anything about horses, and they had a little tiny baby. So Elizabeth, our founder here at Hanaeleh, she communicated with them and told them what to feed Freya and that kind of thing. And then eventually we just said, you know, we're going to come pick her up. It was about 3 weeks or so, and then we went to pick her up. And so here she is. And she was about, I would say, 400 pounds underweight when she first came. And as you can see now, she's in really good shape. We're really happy. Yeah, so she's our good girl.
Freya has a really, really cute face, as you can tell.
She's been standing over here waiting for the carrots. So
Freya's also sanctuaried with us. She's not rideable. She has some pretty major problems with her suspensories, which is like the tendons in your legs. So really we just put some wraps on her legs and we hand walk her to make sure that she gets some exercise and stays mobile and healthy. But other than that, she is just going to enjoy her retirement and be as spoiled as possible.
Yay. And of course, if you'd like to sponsor her, we would love that. Wouldn't you? You would love it. You would love it. Yes.
One more carrot for Freya.
Yes. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl.
Okay, guys.
Now let's walk down. So this is Hanaeleh. This is the ranch.
It's a beautiful day today. It's cool and breezy, but not too overcast.
is in South Orange County, California. Rio's got his I want a carrot face on right now, so so Rio came to us from the last recession, actually. He wasn't neglected or anything. He just was kind of going to be homeless. So we took him in, and he's sanctuaried here. He has had some, in the past, had some health issues. He has a hematoma in his right nasal cavity that's not operable. We've kind of tried all the solutions and nothing's really worked. So he's on steroids. He has been for a couple years. He's just a lover boy. We love him. And he also has Cushing's, which is a autoimmune disease that horses get. And so that contributes to some of his health issues too.
Right. Cushing's is like diabetes in humans a little bit. It's similar to that, where he can't have a lot of sugar and it just affects the way that he feels.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't usually feed him carrots for that reason, but because he's been a good boy and he's on camera right now, we're doing that.
He can have a couple.
He can have a few.
Rio is our fan favorite with children.
Yes.
When we used to have our open houses with people. He's
way back in the olden days.
Way back in the olden days. He is a fan favorite with kids. He's very, very calm and confident, and he makes everyone else feel that way as well, so that they feel safe to be around him, and they love him very much. He's a very good boy, and he has a beautiful mane. Let me swing to this side. You know, the rest of us would pay really good money to get this sort of red blonde ombre here, and Rio has it natural. He's all natural. So he's our good boy, and we'll say goodbye to Rio, and we'll move down to Miss Cindy Lou. You can see Cindy Lou in the arena right now. She's a beautiful paint.
Been with Hanaeleh since December, a little early December. She came from a situation it was an estate that had a couple of horses, and she was one of them, and she was the last one to do something with. The estate apparently was going bankrupt. So we actually took her, and then because she hadn't been working so long, she went up and stayed with our friend Natalie and got some exercise and learned some good manners and some other things. And so she, like we mentioned on Facebook the other day, she and Hershey traded places. Hershey is now up getting his exercise and learning some new tricks, learning some new things. He's learning how to drive, and she came back and she's with us now.
She's very sweet and maybe a little bit sassy, which you might expect from a mare.
Yep.
She's about 22 years old, and she had a son. She had some babies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she's getting used to being spoiled, so we do enjoy her quite a bit.
Okay.
And Cindy Lou's in our big arena. It's where we exercise, free lunge, and lunge on the lead as well in the arena, and sometimes train the horses as well in this area. So it's beautiful. You can see all the clouds in the background and the greenery. And we should probably leave Cindy Lou alone now because she thinks she's getting more carrots.
I'll get her one last one. Thank you, Cole. Yes. Oh, she nickered. And here's Stetson. Hi, my boy. Hi. How are you doing? So Stetson also has Cushing's, and he's an older man, a man of a certain age. We think he's probably hitting almost 30. He came to us from a situation where the lady that had him was using him as a lesson horse, I believe, or a therapy horse, and he developed some, probably from the Cushing's, but some neurological issues, and so she was trying to sell him, but she learned quickly that was not going to work to sell him, and he actually fell down with her on him. And so we networked him on Facebook, and we didn't get any takers. So one of our friends in the canyon here offered to take him for a while with her horse, but that didn't work out, and so that's how he ended up back here. And so he's very attached to all of his neighbors. He and Rio are very, very good friends. He gets a little upset when we move Rio anywhere, but we love him. Yeah, and we don't give him carrots because he's got Cushing's. So yeah. Huh.
Well, usually we can give him celery.
Yeah, he loves celery, but Kathy just forgot that today.
We forgot the celery today, so we will for sure make it up to Stetson, and he'll get tons and tons of celery the next time that we see him.
Yes.
But he has very soulful eyes.
Yeah, good boy. Good boy. Yeah, good boy.
Alrighty.
So, and now we'll come over to the spot where we just built our brand new stalls. What's that been, a month ago-ish?
Yep.
It was a lot of fun. And so I like to call this Bachelor's Row. This is Ulysses and Quixote and Lou Dillon on the end. So we'll go down to Lou Dillon first. Hi, my boy. Hi. Hi. Here's Lou Dillon, everybody. What are you doing? Yes. He says, I see that orange bag. Yes. So, for those of you that don't know about Lou Dillon, he was found running in the streets in Watts, actually on Lou Dillon Avenue in Watts. You can look it up. And that's how he got his name. A kind citizen, it was pouring down rain, and a kind citizen brought him into their yard and put a trash bag over him because people were throwing trash at him and stuff and dodging him with their cars. And he was about 600 pounds underweight, super emaciated. And so the citizen called 911, and LAPD came out. Okay, I'm giving you some more. LAPD came out and called animal control, got him to safety, and then a really nice officer, Sonia DeBell. She's been with the LAPD for over 30 years, and she kind of helps maneuver animals in need. And so she called us. And I should mention too, Officer Robert Yanez, he was the one that first was called to go save Lou Dillon. And both of them come out and visit him like once a month and feed him carrots and bring him fun stuff. So they got him to animal control, and then Sonia was able to, she made a few calls, and there weren't any rescues that were going to take him. But she called us, and of course, anytime that you ask me or Jocelyn, should we take in another horse, it's always a yes. So Elizabeth and I went down there to get him at animal control. And so we started feeding him smaller meals every day like we usually do with all of our emaciated horses. And here he is. He's our fun, crazy boy. Yay! Huh.
Yep, Lou Dillon is another fan favorite. His story is pretty amazing. And it did make the news, and we had some reporters talk about him as well. And we're just so happy that we could provide him with sanctuary. We had an amazing community response to help save him and make sure that he was supported. So we just can't thank you guys enough for helping us bring Lou Dillon home. And we enjoy his personality. It's a little bit quiet, but when he knows he's getting grain or carrots, he wiggles his nose a lot and makes funny faces. So we post those on our Instagram from time to time. And, thank you for helping us bring Lou home.
Yes. Yeah. And again, if anybody wants to adopt him, it's $10 a month or more. But you get a picture of him and updates. And yeah. Huh. And this is Lou Dillon's best friend, otherwise known as Quixote. And he is waiting for some carrots, as you can see.
We might want to move a little.
And my favorite part of Quixote is his little pink spot.
Little pink snip.
Yeah. Huh. So Quixote came from another kind of unfortunate situation. The family had got him. They kind of, the gal went off to college, and she got kind of, I guess, other things, life was happening, and so they didn't know what to do, and he was in bad shape. He had been in a stall for 2 years without any exercise, and they hadn't really fed him very well. So when horses are kept like that for a long time, they'll sometimes develop some kind of quirks, and Quixote does what's called cribbing. So that's what that collar is for around his neck. It's to stop it. Cribbing, they will grab a hold of like the rail or wood, and they'll just, with their front teeth, and then suck air in, and it gives them endorphins, and then sometimes it will also, if they've not been fed, it'll help them feel a little full. So, and then once they start doing it, it's really super hard to stop them from doing it, even after they've been, back in good health. Hey. Oh. So he still does it, but he only does it like 10% of what he did. When he came here, he was a little crazy. He's an Andalusian thoroughbred cross, so you can imagine having those are horses with a lot of energy, and when they're stuck in a stall for a long time, that's a problem. So anyway, so that's Quixote.
So we call him Keo for short, and he has a very playful and kind of troublemaking personality. He likes to, he'll steal your muck buckets and dump them, and he'll grab his halter and spin it around and pretend he's a show roper. And he's definitely one of our favorites because he's such a little Dennis the Menace kind of playful boy. The cribbing collar doesn't hurt him. It just sort of prevents him from sucking that air into his stomach, which is just not really good for him. But he is one of our favorite boys.
Yeah. So yeah, when we have live open houses, usually people bring carrots, and so this is like their favorite thing. They get like mouths full of carrots all for.
Yeah. All right, Keo.
Okay, Miss. And this is our boy Ulysses. Sweetie boy.
I'll go in if you want.
You want to? Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna give us a second here. We're gonna go in and see Mr. U. Hi. Sorry for the great video, guys. It's hard to get a video of Ulysses because he's so cuddly and he wants to be your friend.
Here, he'll stop when
There we go.
Yeah. So this is Ulysses. He is an appendix gelding, right? Which is a thoroughbred quarter horse cross. And he was found in a dry riverbed starving by animal control. And they called us, and we think that he was probably a victim of charro riding. He's going to come over here. And so, if you don't know what charro riding, there's parts of Mexican rodeo that are very cool, and they're very, they train the horses really well, but there's this kind of underground way of abusive training, and we think that's probably what we have a page on our website that you can look up. And so anyway, we think that he was probably a victim of that. He has scars all over his body, and you can see this kind of indentation from a halter. Anyway, he's neurological, pretty badly. So he's of course not rideable. The farrier can't trim his hooves, so what we do is we put him out in the arena every day so he can get exercise and make sure that his hooves get ground down enough so you can see they're doing pretty good. He's a lover boy. We love him to death. So.
Yeah, after all he's been through and the abuse that was inflicted upon him, once he healed, he's still very forgiving and loving and affectionate, and he's a good boy.
Yes.
He's also gorgeous. Like, when you see him moving in the arena, he should have been a movie horse.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We get to enjoy him here, and he gets to teach all of us humans lessons.
Yes. Okay.
All right, buddy.
You ready?
Last one.
Hey, monkey.
Oh, hi.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we got a little bit of a walk for the next horses, so just...
And this right here is where our wonderful caretaker Javier lives. He's on site 24/7. Him, his wife, and his kids. They're great people. They help feed the horses when we're not here. We do come out every day, but they help us out in the mornings and the evenings. And they also clean the stalls. So we really appreciate them a lot. So, actually, they live. Hi. And so
So we'll go around there, yeah.
this way? Okay.
Hi, Grace. We're gonna give you some carrots. Come on, babies.
So this is Hope and Grace. This is Grace right here, and that's Hope. That's Ruby over there. I know. And Grace always lets you know when it's time to feed her a carrot.
Or any treat, really.
Yes. Or grain. Oh. Yes. Okay, so Hope and Grace are best friends, and they were owned by some people up in an area close to here called Orange Park Acres, and they had basically I think they're in their mid-20s or so, maybe a little bit older. I think Grace is a little older. I think Grace is probably 30. But you wouldn't know it looking at her. She looks pretty young. And they are Arabian, I would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so they had been kind of neglected. The person that had them was neglecting them, and someone over that lives near there would walk by their stall on a regular basis. There's trails and stuff, and they would walk by and see them and knew that they were just not being taken care of. So they called us, and it took a while for us to work it out, but we got them to come here. And then last year, if you guys remember the Woolsey fire in Malibu, we had actually adopted both of them out to some people that were doing, what were they doing, Jocelyn? Rehab of some sort?
Therapeutic.
Yeah, like they were both for therapy, and they lost their home and their ranch to the fire. So we brought them back here, and they're doing really great. And Grace hurt herself a few weeks back, but we shared that I think on Facebook and maybe on Instagram too. But her sore's getting way better, and we're happy to see that. And I think that's it. Forget anything?
These girls are very, very bonded, so they don't like being separated from each other at all. They're probably bonded because of the trauma they experienced together, but they do like each other quite a bit. So while it can be problematic sometimes, it is nice to see that they, find comfort in each other.
And then over here is Ruby.
She's been waiting sort of patiently for her carrots.
I know.
Let's move a little this way.
Yeah, we'll move over here. You're a good girl. So Ruby was a broodmare. She was part of another hoarding situation in San Diego County, and the woman that had her didn't feed her, ran out of food, and didn't say anything to anyone, and so she became extremely malnourished, and so she lost her baby. And then right about the same time was when the word was getting out that she was not going to be able to keep up their ranch at all anymore, and so the people down there worked it out where it was about 30 horses. They got all the horses out except for Ruby, and so they called and asked us if we could take her, and we said yes. And I remember they dropped her off on a Thursday night here. They actually dropped her off to us. Usually we go pick up the horses, but they offered to drop her off, and the next morning the woman got evicted. So, and I remember coming down here and just, she was, you know, not in a good way. And she would stare off into space. She wouldn't come up and interact with humans like this because she'd been a broodmare. Broodmares are basically like baby making machines, and they don't spend a lot of time with humans or other horses. And so she would kind of stare off into space and not be really engaged at all. But as you can see, she's past that now.
Ruby is also the great granddaughter of Seattle Slew,
I think
famous racing horse.
Yeah.
She's related to Seattle Slew, and it's hard to see because she's a little dusty right now, but she's just this gorgeous, gorgeous copper color. And when you groom her and then she runs, she just sort of shines in the sun like this just brilliant copper penny. So you can see why people would want to have her babies. But she also has a beautiful, gorgeous floaty gait, and she's just the most beautiful, sensitive horse. And we're really happy that she's come around a little bit and is enjoying human attention and being spoiled, and she deserves it.
I noticed she's starting to get her smoky eye look for summer.
Yeah, Ruby, in the summer, the fur and the skin around her eyes darkens a little bit, and she just looks like she's wearing smoky-eyed makeup.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Moving on. I know, Grace. I know.
Sorry, Gracie. We'll get you back later.
And then this right here is our round pen where we exercise the horses and do some fun stuff in there. Short. He's a Tennessee Walker. This is Sapphire. And she is a thoroughbred, right?
Yeah.
I know. Here's Sap.
Let's move to the shorter bar.
Okay.
Come on, guys. And then they can pop their heads over and...
Yeah.
There we go. Now we can see you, girly girl. Tama.
Tama, come down here. We'll just rattle the carrot bag and have fun. So, like I said, Tama is a Tennessee Walker. Elizabeth knew him for a long time. She actually trained him once a long time ago. She's been training horses for 30 years. She's a school teacher by trade, but she trains horses too. So
he's doing all his tricks to get treats.
But Tama found himself in a precarious situation, and he has been sored. So, S-O-R-E-D, soaring is when there's a small contingent of the Tennessee walking horse community that training. They try to train very abusively to horses, and what they do is they put caustic chemicals around their ankles and then put what's he doing?
He's just being goofy behind you. Perfect.
And then they wrap it in duct tape, and it's horrible. But rather than go into those details, that's what happened to him. And so it's in these people's minds, they think it's supposed to make their legs higher, but it doesn't. It's just a lot of abuse. So Elizabeth found out that information and went and got him, and he's been here ever since. And he's about to turn 21. Yeah, so
May 30th.
yesterday?
May 30th.
Oh, May 30th. Okay.
Happy birthday, Tama.
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday, buddy.
He's 21. He can drink now.
Okay, and then Sapphire came to us from a terrible situation. A guy that had her, he was trying to get her to move, and of course, when you want a horse to move, you need to speak horse, and he didn't. He just decided to run into her with his car, so it made a big gash on her right side here, by her shoulder, and so I'm trying to pay attention.
Tama says all the carrots belong to me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Here.
All your carrots are belong to us.
Yes. So anyway, so Sapphire is our princess here. We love her, and she's very sensitive to that place where the scar is. It's kind of hard to see maybe on camera, but it's just right behind her shoulder. And you have to use special soft brushes for her, and she's another one that's 30 years old. And I always say, hey, don't bite me. I always say she's on her 3rd anniversary of her 29th birthday. So, yeah.
So Sapphire is sanctuaried here. She's Tama's bosom companion. So she's here for us to spoil and love on in her retirement. Right, girly girl? Okay, last but not least, we're going to move down here to talk to our president and founder, Elizabeth,
Hi there.
and Gypsy.
So if you want to stay over there, Kathy, I can take this off.
Yeah.
So hi everyone. Thank you for being a part of our virtual tour. I'm the president, Elizabeth, and I started this in 2004 because I saw that there is a huge need for a horse rescue in Orange County. We have a lot of horses. We have literally thousands of horses in Orange County, and they, across Southern California, and they needed someone to try to help them. Either people who are in desperate situations trying to find homes, or horses who have been abandoned, etc. So I started Hanaeleh, but to be honest, my primary impetus was to end horse slaughter. That's our goal. Our first horse, Cleo, was rescued from a feedlot, and that was my entrance into the horse rescue world. All of us are volunteers here. It's a 100% volunteer-run organization, and we are certified by GFAS, which is Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, and we also
I think the flies are coming back out.
Yeah, I know. It's a place for me. So anyway, we are verified by GFAS. We work closely with other large organizations, and to try to basically, not just save the few horses we can, but also pass legislation that will help all horses, not just across California, but also across the United States and even across, globally. So that's our goal. Even though we're very small, we do understand that there's a larger need for the horses out there. Everything that Kathy has told you, we work to try to help educate the public about these legislation and about these ideas so that we can help a greater amount of horses with the small number of resources we have. This is Gypsy, and Gypsy is kind of our resident Mustang. And she says, hello, I would like a carrot, please. I saw all of those carrots, and I didn't get any of them, and that is wrong. You can see Gypsy is a wild Mustang. That's her, thank you. Yeah, you may go, peasant. This is her little mark for the BLM. It's called a freeze brand. You can't tell because she still has her spring coat, but each one of those little marks is a little arrow after this part, and the arrow denotes different parts on the clock, and that's essentially her number from the BLM. Gypsy came to us because she was rounded up. She was purchased at an auction. After what happened is they put her out. What they do is they put a halter on them, put a short rope in order to be able to catch them, and then they then that way it's easier to catch. Well, what happened is they left the horse out onto this large area, and the father of the person we got him from ended up taking this off, And so then after close to several months, they couldn't catch her. So she put her, for free on Craigslist, and I essentially just said, hey, just typed a little message, hey, make sure you don't type for free, because that's usually, horse slaughter people. So she responded back a couple weeks later saying, hey, no one else except one guy who wants to take her down to Mexico actually contacted me. Do you want to take her? And we actually had some, I'm like, okay, that's probably either tripping, horse tripping, or slaughter, or who knows what. So probably not a good idea. So we drove down, and she said, she's a little hard to catch, so bring some treats. Well, 4 hours later. So she finally, there's no way we were going to catch her. She was going to have to come up and decide that she wanted to do that. So we actually tied a whole bunch of different ropes, that lead ropes from the trailer, and then we ran out of rope, so we got some baling twine, and we made like a mini round pin, and we corralled her in there. After like 3 hours, we finally did that, and after 45 minutes of me kind of working with her, she finally just said, you know what? You're more stubborn than I am. Fine, you're cool. So she just walked up, and that was it. And of course, then you had to get her into the trailer, and I'm like, oh my God, that's another 4 hours. She just, nope, walked up, that's fine. You obviously know what you're doing. But what happened is, because she was only, 2 or 3 when they got her. So her halter, she had grown, because horses grow till they're 6. So the back of the halter had grown into the back of her head. And you can see she still doesn't like it when I touch back there, because it was actually cutting in, it was bloody and whatnot. So I know, why'd you do that, Elizabeth? I worked with Gypsy. We gentled her, trained her. She's very sweet in her own way. I can ride her, no problem, but she basically hates everyone else except me. So instead of just having her be sanctuaried here and on Hanaeleh's dime for the rest of her life, I adopted her, so I do pay for her. I make sure that she's safe, and she's like, of course, I adopted you when you walked when I came up to you, Elizabeth. So, Mustangs do have a tendency to find one person, and then that's it. And that's her story. The reason she is our ambassador for the BLM roundups, we actually, even though I love Gypsy very, very much, and she's been taught me a ton about horses and about working with them and about relationships. That being said, we think that they are better off in the wild. We do not support the roundups. We think that PZP and other forms of birth control are the ways to keep the horse herds down. Also, it gets to be really political, because what happens is you have a lot of cattle ranchers who want to put their cows onto the federal land so that they can graze them. There are at least 1 million cows illegally on federal lands, contributing to the drought and the destruction of the grasslands areas. Of course, it gets to be very political, but the idea is that they think that, one horse is essentially 30 of these is equal to 1 cow, and obviously, logically, that doesn't make any sense. So what they've been doing is they've been rounding these up, and then they put them on small little feedlots, and poor horses live a very horrible existence. They have no shelter whatsoever, and they basically just keep them there on the taxpayer's dime, and then the BLM, every year says, well, we don't have enough money to feed them. Well, our response is, well, then don't round them up anymore. Stop doing that. So that's what we do. We work to try to stop those roundups. Every roundup they've ever had that I've read, they've killed horses, and it's just completely unnecessary. So much as I love this little girl, if I could ever find her family, which is probably gone now, I would, if I had been able to, I would have just reintroduced her back into the wild. She is never going to be the same as Hanaeleh, who you just met. They always have that little bit of wildness. So we think that they're better off in their natural habitat.
So that is our rooster, Darren, that you heard behind us. He likes to make sure that he never gets forgotten.
Yeah, Darren was a class pet. That went wrong.
Oh my God, he was a class pet?
Well, so they were, the classes hatched chickens, and then what they do is the teacher, they didn't turn them enough, So he and his sister Serena had malformed feet because they didn't turn them correctly. And then on top of that, she says, oh, well, we're done with our class, so let's just feed them to the snakes, you know, sell them to the pet store. So one of our neighbors said, hey, would you like 2 baby chicks? And I said, okay, not telling me that one was a baby rooster. So now we have Darren.
Now we have a Darren. Darren's
a jerk.
grumpy.
You know,
Do you want to show, I'm going to show Gypsy's third coat. And she's got her little snowy white butt back here.
Well, this is her spring,
Or her
she's
spring
living in the
coat.
summer, so she doesn't have as much of her spring coat as she usually does. You can see a lot of her, the leopard pattern is gone. She has a summer coat, which is kind of brown, like a roan, and which you can see it's kind of going away. Her winter coat's brown, and then her winter coat is brown, and then her spring coat looks like a appy leopard coat, where she has this white blanket. I know. Jocelyn's on the other side here. I'll be on this side. So she has this blanket that goes all the way across back there, and there's little spots. So if you go on the website, we have all those pictures of her, and you can see how it changes over 3. I've actually never seen another horse with 3 coats, so I've always wondered if Gypsy and her herd actually were kind of a special breed, but unfortunately, because they're kind of decimated, and the BLM in their infinite wisdom keeps 0 track of where they round these horses up to and where they sell them, there's just no way to track it. Essentially, the Fries brand is basically completely worthless.
It's just a date, right?
Yeah, I don't even know why they do it, to be perfectly honest.
Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Yes, thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I've been trying to videotape, and I have this going on behind me and breathing down my neck the whole time. So that was fun with Tama. But thank you guys for joining us. We hope the reception was okay for you, and we'll be posting this, saving this video and posting it. So you can share it with others. And thank you so much to our whole community for supporting us and allowing us to do what we do, which is rescue and speak for horses. Have a great day.